Tom Aspinall has finally reemerged to give us an update on his eye injury, along with firing back at the fans that called him a quitter, Dana White saying that he didn't want to be in there anymore, and calling Ciryl Gane a cheater. So in this video, we are going to be discussing that update on Tom Aspinall's eye, along with his potential return date and my reaction to the video that he posted titled "My First Update Since My Eye Injury." So let's get into it. My name is Wyatt. Welcome to Fight Society. All right, so Tom Aspinall has reemerged for the first update of his own since the eye injury back at 321 against Ciryl Gane, posting this video to his YouTube channel. It's about 12 minutes long. We're going to go through the entire thing, and I'll give you my reaction to what Tom had to say, and we're also going to go through the medical documents that Tom Aspinall posted as well, because we have some creators on here claiming that Tom Aspinall fabricated fake medical documents for the sake of making excuses to the fan base. So we'll start right here with Tom's video. I'll be pausing it intermittently to give my thoughts, but this is Tom Aspinall's video titled "My First Update Since the Injury."
I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and Tom didn't want to continue in the fight.
So you're not too happy then on what the president of the organization is saying towards it?
Well, what do you think?
Great intro from Tom, talking about Dana White saying that Tom didn't want to be in there anymore. And frankly, pretty ridiculous from the president of the company that Tom Aspinall has helped out so much. He was patient during the Jon Jones saga for 15 months. He wasn't able to fight because they were dicking around with Jon Jones for so long, trying to get him to take that fight. Tom Aspinall was a company guy, waited, was patient through negotiations, and then as soon as he gets fouled in the fight, Dana White turns around and says that Tom didn't want to be in there anymore. It's just honestly pitiful behavior from the president of the company. And I just made a video yesterday talking about how Dana White definitely gives way less of a shit about the UFC than he did 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But he strangely still seems to give a shit about trashing certain fighters like Tom Aspinall, but then glazing the ones that cause him problems like Jon Jones.
Oh, welcome back. Seeing as no one's heard from you, the channel's crying out for what's been going on. What have you, what's been going on in your exciting life for the last 5 weeks?
Oh, mate, I've been having a lovely time just in and out of hospital, getting all kinds of different tests done on my eyes and speaking to specialists, speaking to surgeons, speaking to doctors. Oh, it's been a fantastic time.
I've asked the community, the Aspinall, Team Aspinall community, to get the questions in, and we've got probably about 10 plus questions, a lot of the same questions, obviously, just seeing how you are and what's next. But first of all, of course, how is your eye?
Yeah, the eye, well, both eyes, but especially the right eye, still ongoing. We are going to stick the diagnosis from the doctor on this video. It's also available on Instagram if you want to check it out. Look.
Now here's the actual post right here that Tom Aspinall put up, the medical documents that he referred to in that video. And we'll go through these before we get back to the video. This says, Mr. Aspinall sustained significant bilateral ocular trauma during a professional sporting event in late October 2025. Immediate visual disturbance resulted in the fight being stopped. Confirmed clinical findings. Advanced imaging, meaning CT scan and MRI, confirmed orbital soft tissue trauma. Orthopic demonstrations demonstrated impaired binocular coordination and restricted ocular motility. Bilateral traumatic Brown's syndrome, indicating disruption of the superior oblique tendon trochlear mechanism. Persistent diplopia, meaning double vision, especially in positions of up gaze and lateral gaze. Reduced best corrected visual acuity post-trauma. Marked peripheral visual field impairment confirmed by automated parametry. CT scan suggesting a minimally displaced fracture of the right medial orbital wall. So not just his eye, it's actually technically his skull has been damaged as well. And the medical restrictions right here: Mr. Aspinall must abstain from sparring, fighting, or participating in any combat-related activity until full resolution of eye movement, impairment, and diplopia. Now, there is a timeline of it here, and it's very detailed. We'll skim through it basically just to the most recent right here on November 21st. says bilateral traumatic Brown syndrome, ongoing blurred vision and double vision, discussed management options, conservative options, steroid injection, or surgery. No driving allowed and no fighting allowed. So Tom Aspinall's entire life has been changed for the last 5-6 weeks because of this eye poke that so many people say he faked. Now, right here, the summary of the clinical findings. Following a bilateral eye poke injury sustained during a UFC fight in October 2025, the patient has been diagnosed with bilateral traumatic Brown syndrome, indicating significant disruption to the superior oblique tendon trochlear complex. Clinically, he presents with persistent diplopia in multiple gaze positions, blurred vision following the trauma, marked restriction of elevation in adduction in both eyes, visual acuity reduced, severe bilateral field depression on Humphrey visual field testing, findings requiring continued monitoring with no definitive structural explanation identified for the degree of functional deficit. CT imaging initially raised concern for a medial orbital wall abnormality. No acute structural abnormality to account for the visual symptoms. Summary saying this constitutes clinically significant trauma to the eye, requiring consultant-led management. Aspinall is not yet cleared for medical activity or medically cleared for combat activity. Depending on clinical progression, steroid injections or surgical intervention to address this may be required if the symptoms fail to resolve. Overall, the clinical picture remains consistent with significant traumatic bilateral Brown syndrome associated with ongoing double vision, ocular mobility, reduced visual function, and substantial field of vision loss. Symptoms remained unresolved as of late November 2025, and ongoing follow-up with a doctor is required and ongoing. So we go back to Tom Aspinall's video now that we have a full scope of the actual medical diagnosis. And again, I see some content creators saying that Tom Aspinall forged these documents for the sake of tricking the fans and that the NHS in Britain does not write these type of letters or write-ups. I played sports my entire life. I remember anytime you have a serious injury, you have to get an actual doctor's explanation to take to the school. And the same thing goes for the UFC because they got to get insurance to cover it. They have to monitor the injury because it happened while you were working for them. So for people to say that Tom just forged this because it's out of the normal that NHS would write a summary or a letter on behalf of Tom Aspinall really hasn't played sports growing up or played sports at a high level where this type of thing is required because they document each and every little thing about the injury that you sustained while playing for your university, playing for your professional sports team or organization such as the UFC. So we can just throw that out right now that Tom faked these medical documents to trick the fans. I don't think he cares that much about what the fans think. And he's just, I don't know, it's just Jones Glazers, Dana White Glazers. And for some reason, the heavyweight champ that was all of our favorite guy for the most part while he was waiting on the John Jones fight is now like public enemy number one because he got cheated against in a fight that caused a no contest. It's crazy. Quick break. If you're loving this video and you want more from Fight Society, click that join button down below to become a channel member today, where you'll get access to members only live streams, behind the scenes vlogs, and all the unfiltered stuff that we don't post to the main channel. Back to the video.
There'll be haters out there disagreeing with it or whatever. All the eye experts out there, I'm sure, will have their own opinion, but...
And that's exactly what I was saying. Everybody's an eye expert now that they watched Tom Aspinall get poked in the eye one time at UFC. I've been poked in the eye like this really badly, and I couldn't see for hours out of that eye, and I was fine the next day. It didn't look fine. It was bloodshot for weeks on end, but as far as my vision went, I got poked in the eye in training, and I got poked in the eye another time at a jiu-jitsu tournament. It's a long time. It's like hours till you can actually see again, even if there's no long-term damage to the eye.
This is what's going on.
What did you feel when you first got eye poked?
Well, I actually got eye poked twice in the fight. First one wasn't too bad. He got warned for it. The second one, obviously, Ciryl Gane tried to make my head a bowling ball with the double eye poke, knuckle deep in both. So yeah, wouldn't recommend it at all.
How did you feel the fight was going before the eye poke?
I felt like the fight was going okay. It was going pretty much to plan. I think that, look, there was this big notion in the media before that I'm just going to run through Ciryl Gane. Look, I might look like an idiot. Sometimes I might even talk like an idiot, but when it comes to fighting, I know what I'm talking about. And I know that Ciryl Gane is a tough matchup for me.
And people that actually know the game know that Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane was not going to be just some walkover Ciryl Gane and make him look stupid the way that Tom did to Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, Marcin Tybura, Sergey Spivak, Alexander Volkov, the long list of top-ranked heavyweights that Tom Aspinall ran through. For some reason, people applied that to Ciryl Gane as well, when all it does is take a few seconds of watching Ciryl Gane fight footage to separate him from the pack in terms of skill, size, mobility, agility in the cage for a heavyweight. I mean, him and Tom are basically the only two heavyweights that move like they're like welterweights or middleweights. The rest of them are just fat guys that move slow. Even Sergey Pavlovich, top level heavyweight, very plotty, very heavy on his feet, throws almost no kicks, very stiff. Alexander Volkov, tall and lanky guy, still very plotty. Heavyweight is not a division like featherweight, bantamweight, lightweight, welterweight, flyweight, these smaller weight classes compared to heavyweight, where we have even guys that are well outside the top 15 that are crazy athletic, crazy fast, and crazy skilled. Heavyweight, there's like 4 good heavyweights in the world, or 3 of them to be honest. And one of them's John Jones, retired, or not coming back, or maybe coming back to fight Pereira, we'll see. And then Tom and Ciryl Gane. That's basically it in terms of actually athletic, quality fighter heavyweights outside of just fat guys that punch hard. Because that's the reality of the UFC heavyweight division. It's very, very shallow.
Really good defensively. I knew that if we want to break the fight down a little bit, Cyryl's got really good defense. He moves really, really well on his feet.
This is where the fans get it fucked up, is that Tom Aspinall ran through a bunch of heavyweights in a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 1 round or less. Ciryl Gane is a bad matchup for Tom, which would lead to the fight being longer. He's a little bit more durable. He's a little bit more skilled. He's a little bit better on defense. He's not a Marcin Tybura or a Sergey Pavlovich that's just going to throw haymakers and Tom's going to beat him to the spot because he's faster and more athletic. This Ciryl Gane fight from the very beginning was going to be a longer fight than we're used to for Tom Aspinall. And just because it played out longer, slower, and not as quickly going Tom's way as many of his other fights, people think, oh, Tom's washed, Tom sucks. John Jones washed Ciryl Gane, and Ciryl Gane won the first round against Tom Aspinall, and therefore Tom would have lost the fight. It does, and that he would have lost to John Jones as well.
I knew that I have to stand in range and take a few punches from Ciryl to be able to land my own shots. We knew that. That was happening. I had a bloody nose. Look, any of my sparring partners know you only have to look at that thing.
I think it's a bit red now as well, isn't it?
It might be a bit red today, yeah. Got the old Rudolph thing going on.
It's not broken though, just to be clear.
No, my nose isn't broken, but I have broke my nose about 3 or 4 times in my life. So, look, touch me in the nose, it'll bleed. Yeah, nosebleeds happen in fights. Yeah, was he hitting me with a few jabs? Yes. Was I hitting him with a few shots as well? Yes.
And Tom absolutely was hitting him with some shots as well, because the significant strikes for the fight to this point, or to the point of the stoppage, was 30 landed for Ciryl Gane and 27 landed for Tom Aspinall. So people are acting like there was some massive discrepancy and that Ciryl Gane was running away with this fight because Tom's nose started bleeding on a jab. It happens in sparring for him. Some people are way more prone to cuts, like Nate Diaz. People talk about Nate Diaz getting cut in every fight because he's got scar tissue above his left eyebrow. Does that mean that Nate Diaz was getting whooped on in every single fight that he got busted open? Absolutely not. It happens all the time. And it seems like this is a common issue for Tom as well. So he's realistic about how the fight was going. Yes, Ciryl Gane was getting some shots off, but no, he wasn't running away with the fight.
Thought it was going to be a 5-round fight. Go and look at my pre-fight stuff. I knew this was going to be a long and tough fight.
I think that every fight I go into, and I really respect my opponent, especially Ciryl. I think there's this notion with the media and maybe the fans that Cyryl's not very good, which is just complete bullshit. I think that he's really, really good. He's super talented. He's been at the top of division for a number of years, which is not easy to do. He's been an interim champion himself. He's obviously had 2 title shots for the undisputed title as well. So I think the guy's really good. I've took him extremely, extremely seriously. The fact that people expect it to be an easy fight, I don't read into that at all. I think I'm prepared for a really, really hard fight.
I felt like the first half of the round, he caught me a couple of times with a couple of jabs, couple of leg kicks, but towards the back end of the round, I was putting him in a couple of dangerous spots.
Did you think he did it on purpose?
This is where we're going to start seeing bully Tom Aspinall come out, because he gets asked if he thinks Ciryl Gane did this on purpose. And whether it was on purpose or not, Ciryl Gane cheats in like every single fight.
So, I think that when it initially happened, I didn't really think much of it. I thought, accidental eye poke, whatever. Look, when I watched the fight back, that's when I really got the gist of what's going on. The guy was trying to poke my eyes out all the way through that round. Multiple exchanges, nearly every exchange that I could put him in danger. He had his fingers out pointing towards my eyes. Have a look at this clip and let me know what you think, if you agree, because it's hard to disagree when you've got footage like this. The guy was cheating from the first second, and the way that he wanted to win that fight was to have me compromised by cheating.
We found a video of basically from that first round with Gane's sort of finger pokes. Just want you to watch it if you can see, and just sort of explain what's going on.
2, 3, 4, 5.
So what have you just seen there?
I've just seen that every time his hand comes out, it does this.
And that's the same clip that I reacted to when I was defending Tom Aspinall in the first place, was the amount of times that Ciryl Gane had his hands extended throughout that contest and how much he cheats in every single fight. So for the fans to take a look at that clip and see him get poked in the eye multiple times and almost poked in the eye a few other times and still say that Tom Aspinall quit is crazy to me. And it just shows me that it's the Jon Jones fans who, I've shown this a bunch of other times too, Jon Jones cheats and pokes his opponent in the eye almost every single fight. There's such a long compilation of Jon Jones eye poking his opponents and tracing his opponent's head with eye pokes, like tracking their head with his eyes or with his fingers in front of their eyes. And those are Jon Jones fans that are going after Tom Aspinall. That just shows me that they wanted Tom Aspinall to stay in this fight and lose, or they wanted him to stay in this fight, and that would show to Jon Jones that he could also poke Tom Aspinall in the eye and that Tom would stay in there compromised. But no, it's a foul, and the fight ended in a no contest. It should have been a DQ win for Tom Aspinall, in my opinion.
Have you heard from Ciryl Gane at all, or any contact or anything post-fight?
Nope.
And your thoughts on him at the moment?
My thoughts on him, I think he's a big cheater. I think...
Let's go. My thoughts on him, I think he's a big cheater. This is the type of energy that we need for Tom Aspinall going into the rematch, because Tom Aspinall came into the first fight with Ciryl Gane as a nice guy. Everybody looking at him like, oh yeah, Jon Jones wasted a big portion of your prime. And now you get essentially like this consolation trophy in defending your undisputed title against Ciryl Gane, who really didn't earn a title shot. It was a product of the circumstances of Jon Jones not sticking around. So now that we have some actual heat on the rematch, it's only going to make this fight even bigger. And Tom Aspinall, being as pissed as he is, as I know he's still being polite in this video, but you can tell he's fucking pissed at Ciryl Gane. And I think we're going to see a vastly different second fight with Ciryl Gane.
Look at all his fights.
It's crazy. Here's a picture of the eye gouge again. Double eye gouge, knuckle deep, and people are still criticizing Tom Aspinall. It's crazy to me.
How'd they open my eye?
The dirty...
Even Jon Jones himself, even the GOAT himself said before he fought him that Ciryl Gane's a cheater and uses dirty tactics.
I've noticed in a lot of Ciryl Gane's fights, he hits people in the back of the head quite a bit, and I didn't want any type of dirty play happening on such a big night.
Really funny coming from Jon Jones, who cheats in every single fight that he has, saying that Ciryl Gane's a cheater. I mean, they're both cheaters. It's just funny that Jon Jones has to be the one to call this out.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I've seen obviously there's been a lot of discussion on eye pokes and fouls since. The referee himself said pre-fight that the best thing about fouling is it works. That's Jason Herzog's words, not my words.
The best part about fouling, right, is that it works. So the best thing you can do is like keep your head in the game, and I'll do everything I can to manage.
Yeah, you see guys like Derek Lewis coming out saying, you know, if you're tired, kick them in the nuts, poke them in the eyes, do something that'll give you a little break, because there's basically no punishment for it.
So I told my coach if that happens, like in the fight with him, then I'm going to knee him in the nuts on purpose.
Things need to change in the sport.
And that is kind of the standard that is in combat sports right now, is you get to cheat once, you're going to get a warning. Sometimes you get to cheat twice. Frankly, I mean, even in my own gym, we've been told, if you get fouled, foul him back immediately. If you get kicked in the cup, kick him back in the cup immediately, because you're going to get a warning. They can't give a warning to your opponent for cheating and then deduct a point from you for doing the same thing that they just got a warning. Yes, this does get taught in MMA gyms, and it is a strategy. I mean, Derek Lewis even said it himself in every single interview, but he did say he pokes people in the eyes, he knees them in the cup on purpose to get a break in the fight.
Sport of MMA when it comes to fouls.
I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and you know, Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. So, who gives a?
What do you think about Dana White saying Tom didn't continue, and then also, who gives a to eye pokes?
Well, listen, I didn't continue. I'll tell you why I didn't continue. Because I'm not a dummy.
Damn. Tom Aspinall firing back at the boss, Dana White. Frankly, Dana White needs some more fighters pushing back on his bullshit, because the amount of times and like the amount of hypocrisy that we get out of Dana White and the double standard that we get from Dana White is crazy. So it's good to see, you know, the big heavyweight star, the big heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, say, I'm not a dummy. That's why I didn't keep fighting.
I'm not going to go out there and fight one of the best strikers in the world if I can't see.
With double vision.
With any eye. Look, I know as an MMA fighter, look, things are going to happen in the fight that compromise you. Go back and watch my fight with Arlovsky. The end of the first round, he punched me right in the eyeball.
Final 20 seconds of the first round. Oh! Big right from Arlovsky.
For the rest of that fight, I couldn't see him out that eye. That's fine. If you get punched or kicked in the eye, that's fine. If you get double eye poked in both eyes and you've got no vision because of a foul, why should I carry on so some dummy can look and say, oh yeah, Tom just got knocked out? Because I ain't going to fight if I can't see anything because of a foul. If it's a little illegal move, we have to fight through it. That's what we do as fighters. But when it's a foul, why am I going to put my health at risk when I can't see at all?
So you're not too happy then on what the president of the organisation is saying towards it?
Well, what do you think?
I'd be pissed if I was Tom too. Your boss is over here talking shit about you because you got fouled.
Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. So,
look, we all know who is at fault here. What the are you talking about, huh?
And off the back of that, Tom, what have the UFC said?
Hunter Campbell, who I deal with personally, he's just said if they can help out in any way with doctors and stuff like that, that's what they'll do.
When do you think you can start training again?
Look, it's not up to me. It's up to the doctors. At the minute, I ain't allowed to do nothing, so I'm just following advice at the moment.
What's next?
What's next for me right now is there's talk of surgery on the eyes. We've got to see how it goes over the next few weeks. Obviously, that's down to the specialists and stuff, but I'm not in the gym training at the moment. I'm not doing anything MMA-wise at the moment. I'm just following the doctor's orders right now and seeing what happens with the health.
So there we have it. Tom has no timetable for his return, and I could see Dana White doing some nasty, dirty fight game type of shit and stripping Tom Aspinall of the heavyweight belt so that they can make Pereira versus John Jones at the White House for the heavyweight belt. I already see it happening right now. And if that happens, we fucking riot. We march on the UFC headquarters. Or they're going to do an interim title between Jones and Pereira, and Ciryl Gane gets cut out of this mix because he didn't deserve the title shot in the first place. But I'm telling you, they are going to use this eye injury. If Tom's not ready to go by like April, maybe June, they're going to do an interim fight between Jones and Pereira at the White House. And they're kind of already setting up the White House card because you got Patty fighting Justin Gaethje for the interim belt. The winner of that fight is most likely going to fight Topuria at the White House. Jones and Pereira want to be on the card. We also have the possibility of McGregor versus Michael Chandler. I doubt that all three of those fights would be on the White House card. We could see a very, very stacked card, and we could see Tom getting screwed out of this heavyweight title, kind of the same way that he got screwed out of his prime because of John Jones just playing games with the contract and I want this much, I want that much, and then backing out in the end. Tom Aspinall is probably the most screwed over fighter in the UFC in a very long time. I know there's other cases of fighters getting treated very, very poorly by Dana, but we're at the point where Tom Aspinall is getting lined up to get stripped or an undeserved interim belt get put on the line, especially with his dad talking about how they want to go to boxing and get some big paydays, which was a huge mistake on Andy Aspinall's part. I don't agree with that at all. You shouldn't be talking about that in the media whatsoever. Andy Aspinall does talk a little bit too much about their internal plans. But with that boxing talk brought up, we might see Tom get stripped. So I'm getting kind of annoyed with how the UFC's handling this. I don't have anything negative to say about Tom because he didn't do anything wrong. He won the interim belt because he took a fight on 2 weeks' notice, answered the call in the middle of the night with a back injury, and fought Sergey Pavlovich on 2 weeks' notice. And then he has to sit out for over a year. Then they give him a BS title fight against Curtis Blades. He shouldn't even have had to defend the interim belt while they do Jones versus Miocic. And then they have him sit out another 15 months while they see if they can get John Jones to sign the contract. He doesn't. Then they do this Ciryl Gane fight and he gets poked in the eye. Now he might get stripped or they do an interim belt. When you put it all together like that, I don't know if we've ever seen a champion get treated as unfairly as Tom Aspinall. I know Dana White had it out for Tyron Woodley. I know he had it out for a few other guys, but we have never seen a champion get treated as badly as Tom Aspinall by the promotion, by Dana White, and by the fan base. I mean, this is fucking crazy. So there we have our Tom Aspinall update. Hopefully he's ready to go by like March, April, May, or else we could see one of the biggest injustices in UFC history with a Pereira Jones interim title fight, or even for the undisputed belt at the White House with Tom getting stripped. So there's my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. Do you want more from Fight Society? Like and subscribe below this video and click the join button to become a channel member today to get access to behind the scenes vlogs and members only live streams.